Welcome back to the channel, my faithful few. Hey, we at it again. It's your boy JT, and I'm glad you're here with me again today. In this video, we're going to dive into the shallow waters of choosing the right lens for your new camera. I'm not going to make this a long video, and it's not going to have a whole lot of fluff in it. I'm going to give you the deets, and then you can go shop. As a matter of fact, the lenses that I have are the ones I'll talk about, and you can check them out in detail by either clicking on my gear bag in the description or by clicking on the link next to each one in the description. Before we jump in, I want to shout out my visitors. And if you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and joining our community of passionate, self-taught creators. I have a lot of valuable content lined up for you. And if you find this video helpful and it brings some added value to you and your content creation, don't hesitate to leave a comment. Your feedback is incredibly important to me. Okay, so we're going to start by talking about the difference between a prime lens and a zoom lens. A prime lens is like a fixed lens. It has a set specific focal length that can't be changed. For example, a 50mm prime lens will always give you that 50mm view. And there are so many pieces of gear out there that you want to learn to be purposeful. If I wanted to get a wider field of view, I would have just moved further back. If I wanted to get a closer field of view, I would just move closer up. I moved in closer to my subject, or I moved in further away from my subject. That's how I worked my 35mm and my 50mm. Okay, so now we'll talk about zoom lenses. But a zoom lens, you get the best of both worlds. You're able to get a single lens that will cover a range of focal lengths. So now, the lower the aperture number for the lens that you choose, the more expensive the lens is going to be. That being the case, when you see a zoom lens, I mean, if it says that the lower that number can be is a f2.8, don't run from it. There's very few situations where you just absolutely have to have a 1.8 aperture. I mean, that's, in my mind, I mean, that's more, advertising, marketing, and gimmicking. Yeah, it's cool to have, but you don't absolutely have to have it. It's all going to depend on what you need your lens for. Cover my long shots and even some super long shots. And so for me, those lenses are key. For me, those lenses are lenses that I can pretty much be able to use for any shoot that I go on. I have a 50mm prime. That's the only prime that I stick with. Do you have to get each and every one of those lenses? No. You could literally get a 17-55 or an 18-35 and have everything you need. Or you can get an 11 or 14mm wide angle prime lens, or you can get a 35mm prime lens, or you can get a 50mm prime lens, and you can still have everything you need. My recommendation would be to grab a zoom lens that gives you a range of focal lengths so that you can not only be able to cover different types of shots, wide, medium, and long, but you can also begin to see what focal length works for you to tell the story that you're trying to create. See, a zoom lens is a very, very versatile lens, especially for someone with a new camera. I'm gonna go out on the limb and recommend grabbing a zoom lens just so that you can have the versatility to create multiple shots. I say that because in telling a story, it's usually different shots combined to tell that story, and you not having to change lenses while you're moving around will help you in doing just that, especially early on, and you'll be able to get some good reps in there. Right now, I'm riding with zoom lenses and primes for specifics, but for the most part, I either have my Sigma 1835 f1.8 or my Canon 17-55 f2.8 with ND filters. Now, for sports, I'm gonna rock the 70-200 f2.8 every day, all day. So I'm able to cover exactly what I need in all situations, and mostly without having to switch lenses. So now, I'm gonna go through a few standard lenses and what they're kind of traditionally used for, and then you can have that information to help you out before you make this next purchase of lenses for your new camera. Alright, so we got our wide lenses, we got our medium lenses, and we got our close lenses. The smaller the number, the wider the view. The smaller the number, the wider the view. Think of it as an angle just mirror it on both sides, and you'll see exactly how wide it really is. So if you've got 14 degrees here, 14 degrees there, you can see how wide that is, because your angle of view is going to be right in between there. Now if you've got 50 here, that means you got 50 here. As you can see, it begins to get more and more narrow, but that also allows you to get more and more detail. Okay, but it's gonna make you closer up, but that's your actual field of view right there. Okay, so now a wide angle lens, I mean, that goes from about an 11 to about a 24. They're used to establish location. They're used to depict real estate, and also for group shots. You know, when you got a lot of area with a lot of information that you need to get into your image or your content, the wide angle lens is your choice. Okay, a medium angle lens, we're going to say between 35 and 70 millimeters would describe your medium angle lens. You can use to grab medium angle shots. They'll let you get closer to your subject, and you'll also be able to still keep the background in some of your shot, but still be able to get closer to your subject with a lot of good focus and detail. As far as the area of coverage, I would say think about being able to get enough detail on a subject that you can be able to see from about their waist up to the top of their head, and that right there would pretty much describe your medium shot. So if you can imagine that from the waist to the top of the head, which they call the cowboy shot, but still being able to get the detail from the background and the sides and above, that would be what your medium lens will be able to capture. Now your 50 millimeter lens, you know, to me that's pretty much kind of a semi-close shot. All right, it's the lens that matches closely what the human eye is able to see as far as what its field of view is. So I want you to have this information so you can make the decision based on what you need and what you need for your shots. The 70 millimeter lens is getting more into that upper range of the mid shot. So the same as the 50, you can use it on a lot of different types of shoots, and you can do close-ups, but you pretty much are all the way out of getting any kind of wide shot if you go with that 70 millimeter shot. I mean, I use a 70 millimeter shot for sports, and it's on a zoom lens. Anything more than 100 millimeters, considered a long lens, period. You know, hunting, sports, courts, fields, anything far away that you need to be able to grab detail on, you can use 100 and up. You know, depending on what you're shooting will determine just how far out you need to go. Like I said, for me, I use 70 to 200 on all my sports shoots. Anything where I need to go out, if I need to go out any further, then I'll have to go rent a lens. But as far as me on my person, the 70 to 200 gets it done. Okay, so for me, initially when I first began getting into the camera game, I was doing live performances. And with those live performances, there was a lot of learning curve. And, you know, although I had multiple lenses, I very rarely actually changed them. I believe I was riding with a 35 millimeter based on a reference and recommendation. It was that, hey, you go with the 35 millimeter, you put it on autofocus and go. Well, you know, knowing what I know now, I would have probably been better just having a zoom lens that went up to about 50 millimeters so that I could be able to cover multiple types of shots. So that's what I would suggest. It would be to go with something like an 18 to 35 or a 17 to 55 f1.8, f2.8 type of a lens, and whatever you're shooting, grab you some wide shots, try to move in for your mid shots, and try to get even closer to be able to get you some long shots or some close shots. That way, when you get back, you'll be able to have enough diversity in your shots to be able to put together something that'll be awesome. Because otherwise, you just go in, you just got one lens, you have to do a lot of moving in and backing up in order to be able to cover multiple shots and shot types, which is not a bad thing, but the zoom lens will just give you so much more versatility, and you'll find that out with when you begin to shoot that sometimes you're just going to need one or the other. And so if you're able, as far as focal length, and so if you're able to go in, get a wide shot real quick, and without having to go to the camera bag or reach into your fanny pack that I talked about in the very first and second video, if you can be able to just reach up, zoom your lens in, and grab that next shot, it makes things so much easier. So that would be my recommendation. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put links in the description for those lenses that I have that I use, in which pretty much a zoom lens and the 50mm prime. And that's a wrap. I hope I provided you with some added value and some practical information that'll help you make a more informed decision on this next investment for you with your camera lens for your new camera. Like I mentioned earlier, the lens investment is just as important as the camera purchase because the lens will go forever. It's the camera that always changes. So if you found this video helpful, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I've got so many things that get you caught up on, and we're going to take the shortcut. Thank you for being a part of our community, and I'm truly grateful for your presence and your continued support. If you have any questions or suggestions for future videos, feel free to leave a comment below, and let's stay connected. Don't forget, connect with me on social media, and if you think this video could benefit someone else, please share it. Once again, thank you for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.